Charles, you're back in the residential library in the majestic Penang. How are you?
Small correction. I'm actually not in the residential library. I'm in my workstation in
Ah,
the great room. But
even fancier.
I have an interesting thing to report. I was in a club tennis match against this thing called the Royal Lake Club in Malaysia, which is apparently a beautiful spot. And the good news is I played for 3 hours in the hot sun. I mean, it was hot. Hat, spelled Hat, like Obama and hat. Um, and I was chasing a ball near the net, and I just stumbled and fell on the court, which didn't really hurt that much. But the problem is that this is a synthetic court that has sand in it, so to when it rains to soak up the rain. And so I've blood on the face, bruise here. You may not be able to see it, but it knocked more sense into me, which is good.
And when you say Obama, I think you're referring to Obama.
No, that's how you pronounce it. Obama, abomination, Obama, Obama.
Well, we should talk about the No Kings comedy that occurred yesterday. I mean, it really was kind of a not funny joke, but we this
Is
is the
yeah,
famous Robert De Niro movie where he's Rupert Pupkin, a
yeah.
lunatic.
Yeah, I mean, what I noticed is indeed before you and I started doing broadcasts, I would go into typically Washington Square Park whenever there was a protest, and I would just see what was going on. And it struck me, this is back in like 2014, that what you had then, and I think what you've had before then and after then, is this same crowd of people who, back in the 60s with protests against Vietnam, maybe they had right on their side with that. Maybe. I don't know. Let's just say maybe. But certainly now, these are a bunch of losers. And Trump, Trump responded to it hilariously in two ways. He had one, uh, I don't know if he put it on Blue Sky, because I think he's been putting a bunch of stuff on Blue Sky, but he put it on X. Somebody put it on X. Him in a king's outfit with Andrea Bocelli singing,
Yeah.
like that one. Then another one, him in a fighter jet dropping poop or whatever on Harry Enton, or Ensign, whatever the guy's name is, in CNN. But what I noticed, first of all, anytime Hillary Clinton tweets about something that's coming up in advance, alongside Chuck Schumer with the same talking points that democracy is in danger and rise up, and we're more than they are, and all the same bullshit. When Trump won the popular vote, Trump won every swing state, even though he was labeled a felon falsely, even though the what do they call him, the somnolent king, Joe Biden, during his residency, flouted the Constitution. He had utter disdain for the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court ruled, for example, thou shalt not forgive student debt. And he said, fuck the Supreme Court. That's what I'm going to do anyway. And he did it during his presidency. I didn't hear of any no kings protests back then.
Yeah.
Uh, and the J6 thing, that was
Sorry,
a
Charles.
Fedsurrection.
I didn't realize this, but Andrea Bocelli actually was hanging out with Trump, I
Right.
guess was I didn't know that. And also,
Yeah.
does somnolent mean he's going to sleep?
He was asleep the whole residency. I mean, Joe Biden didn't perhaps. I mean, I don't think he can actually write a book about his presidency because he doesn't know what happened. At least Hillary, what did her book, a ridiculous book after Trump won? I think it was called "What Happened."
I thought it was called It
Right?
Takes a Handle of Chardonnay.
That was her first book, but it takes a rotting fish. But you and I, it's funny. We think about a little bit of inside baseballs for the viewers. We think about what might be the hottest topic, what's the topic we want to talk about on these broadcasts, and invariably we call them before they happen. So you and I spoke, and we guessed that this No Kings thing would be a fizzle, which it was, and a lot of money was spent on it. All of that money is traceable and is in the process of being traced. And George Soros has had a lifelong career as a charity fraudster, using charities to foment rebellion inside countries so he can bet against those countries' debt, which can be a relatively inexpensive one-sided trade. And he's amassed, in theory, an enormous amount of money doing that around the world. He's been kicked out of numerous countries for this kind of behavior. And yet again, under the glare of publicity, the harsh glare of publicity, which he paid for, his people paid for, he is bold enough to do this yet again inside our country. And shame on Trump and Bondi and those people, and Patel and others, if they don't shut these fucking charities down. These are fake charities. These are political institutions that are not only engaging in partisan political activities in the guise of charity, but they are also, I think, either loosely or perhaps even tightly allied with enemies. I mean, the Communist Chinese Party loves what they see in the United States right now. And, of course, the idiots on the left in the mainstream legacy press are saying that, what Trump is doing in Colombia and Venezuela is dangerous. No, it's not. We have had an open southern border and decades for the Communist Chinese and their allies to, much as we, America and the Brits did in the 19th century, sending heroin and opium into China, they are facilitating a fentanyl and other drug crisis inside our borders. And we need to shut, people talk about long supply chains. We need to shut these supply chains down. We have a big problem. America is the largest market for illegal substances in the world. That market will be served unless you make it very dangerous and painful for the suppliers. And that's what Trump is doing now by bombing the submarine in Venezuela and going after the folks in Colombia. He should be doing the same thing in Afghanistan, where they now, I think, are back to growing opium again, heroin again. We need to change the calculation of the drug trade, the dangerous drug trade. You do this kind of stuff, you make money off of it, you go to prison for the rest of your life, if you're lucky.
You brought up something important, though, Charles. The drug trade in Afghanistan, a lot of indicators that it was being protected by the military, perhaps a deep state operation along the lines of what was happening in MENA. That would also be consistent with, the resistance to Trump trying to stop it, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it really is. I can now reveal where I was on this long trip. I stopped in New York, and I didn't even want to go and look at where I used to live because I just want to remember it the way it once was. But it was very painful to walk around the city and see it even worse in many ways than it was when I left in July of last year. Then I went out to Montana, which I'd never been there, and to Great Falls, Montana. The people were wonderful. But you could see the hollowed out city center. It's a small town, Great Falls, but it's not in the mountains. It's just to the east of the mountains on this open plain. There are a lot of military bases there, a lot of Native Americans there, interestingly. But the same, you saw drug addicts, you saw homeless people, you saw people with those hollowed out eyes, a lot of pain. I think, but the hollowing out of the manufacturing base in America has affected a lot of families. It's given a lot of families no hope. And then you layer on top of that, bringing drugs so they course through the veins of the heartland. This is an outrage. And I think one of the reasons Trump won so convincingly in 2024 is he understands that. He really is. It's remarkable to meet a man of his age who's never had a drop of drink and never taken drugs. That's unusual. And he did that because his elder brother, died of alcoholism, I think. Yeah. And so, Trump understands that pain, and Trump, I think, is doing something about it. And these, they're not even, I don't like to use the word retard, but they're not even that dumb. I mean, these are people who are clinging to a vision of America in 1964, when the civil rights movement had it wasn't until 65 that I think the second Civil Rights Act was passed. So if you wanted to complain in 63, 64, 65 about racial injustice, you were right to do so. But back then, non-military social spending in the United States was a pittance. The bulk of our spending was on military. And, some of the things, but the social safety net in the United States of America is bigger. The annual spending on it is bigger by far than the GDP of any other country. Measured on using official exchange rates, not purchase power parity, which is another thing we could talk about that's total rubbish out of academia. So, and then on top of what the government spends, you have this vast group of nonprofits. ProPublica estimates that the annual spending of nonprofits is $4.1 trillion a year. So it's not as if, America is a place where nobody's looking out for the underclass of American citizens. What do the Democrats want to do now? They want to protect, millions of people who broke the law and came into this country illegally and are stealing money from the government. That's who they want to protect, because they're in the business of stealing money from the government themselves with their off-market mortgages and their off-market business deal and their undeclared bribes. This is really ridiculous, and the legacy media hasn't gotten it yet. To prepare for this podcast, I was going through Free Republic, which is an excellent website, and I saw story after story from, the Associated Depressed and Rotten, Reuters, these other major services trying to pitch what happened on Saturday as a block party. That it was excellent. When what these people were calling for was the assassination of Donald Trump and his supporters, people who won. In their latest election, you could, if you want to say it's rigged, Democrats, okay, then we'll get back into 2020. I think it certainly was. Many illegal people voted in 2024 and certainly in 2020, but nonetheless, Donald Trump won. And if you're protesting, he won the popular vote, something that Bill Clinton didn't do twice, something that George Bush didn't do, W. Bush, something that Hillary Clinton certainly didn't do. And in 2024, what the Democrats did, and people get this, Joe Biden was revealed as a moron in the debate by Trump, a dangerous, deluded, sick moron. So what did the Democrats do? They didn't hold open primaries. They just said, okay, let's have a dumber moron and install her and give her a whole bunch of, illegally sourced money and try to ram her down the throats of the electorate. And that didn't work. Now you're going to have a protest about no kings when you try to install a drama queen as president. This just didn't sell. And, it's one of the last gasps, I think, of the legacy media. Legacy media, legacy academia is not worth paying for. That's why NBC is imploding. That's why circulations are imploding. That's why legacy colleges are seeing admissions decline. That's why, I have no grandchildren right now, but I would not, at this moment, I would work as hard as I could if I had a grandchild who wanted to go to Yale and Harvard to make sure they did not go there. I would bribe them. I would do whatever I could to make sure they didn't waste not just the money, but 4 precious years of youthful, healthful life going into a bile factory, where angry Karens, male and female Karens, will do their level best to guilt trip white males and white people in general with ridiculous bullshit passed as peer-reviewed papers. So and that's what you saw, the product of academia. That's what you saw on Saturday. Idiots. And there was no enthusiasm for it. You were there, Jason, right? In New York. You saw it firsthand. What did you see?
I saw a sea of lunatics, Charles. I saw this big idiot, Dan Goldman. This was kind of funny. Let's just listen to this.
Love this country.
Dan Goldman.
How are you?
You're a shameful loser. What are you doing here?
You've been adjacent.
No, but seriously, this guy, does he even represent New York City? He is a representative from New York, but the point is, this completely shut down. I did about an hour video walking against the grain, as I do, just totally uptown through this mob of lunatics. And I did it because, first of all, I wanted to just sort of see the looks on all these idiots' faces, but also, I don't know, this felt like the way to do it. I didn't say that much throughout, but I just walked up against the flow of traffic. And then when the video got cut off, but for people who are subscribing to me on X, I put the full video on there, and we'll just show everybody a little taste of what the subscribers get. We've got the No Brains director's cut, Charles. And when I got to the end of the line here, this guy, this is perfect. I just asked him, how's it doing for your business? Let's just go back and see what he says. Oh, we missed it now. These people, so this restaurant is closed, and these people were set up in front of the out-of-business restaurant saying, donate to our whatever this is. Then we had an Irish bar right here. And normally on a Saturday afternoon, I imagine this place would be selling lots of beer and lunch and whatever. I asked the guy.
Forcing my way through that crowd. How's this doing for your business?
So that's what I mean. Dan Goldman is there crapping on all New York City businesses. And by the way, this is one of the last, when summer is over and they don't have their outdoor seating anymore, like some of these businesses, they rely on a busy part of the season to basically make all of their money. And when they use it up, I was thinking about this a lot, Charles. Of course, everybody has the First Amendment, but the number of police that were around that had to be paid overtime. And then, of course, we had this idiot, crackhead Barney, standing there terrorizing people. I told the cops, I want you to arrest this woman.
Wait a minute. She's in whiteface?
She does that all the time.
But wait a minute. I mean, if you do the reverse, if a white person puts black,
of course,
you get canceled. How does she get away with doing that?
If a man inserted something into his body and started shoving it in the faces of women, you'd rightly be thrown in jail. So every time I see this stupid lunatic, I tell the police to arrest her. I tell her to stop advancing towards me. See, he's stopping her from advancing towards me because at least he acknowledges that is civil assault and, she's provoking me. I'm backing up. She's advancing. This woman should be arrested. Indecent exposure, sexual assault, harassment. She's a lunatic, but they just, this is the No Kings protest. It's no kings, but yes, idiots.
No, it's no tax revenue is what it is.
Exactly.
I mean, what people don't seem to understand is, when I moved to New York in 1959, I was 3. So obviously my focus was the sandbox and the swings and trying not to get hit by swings or whatever, but I wasn't even on a bicycle yet. But in that early period, 59 to say 63, New York City was on top of the world. I mean, it was the manufacturing capital of the United States. New York State was. And it was the headquarters for many big multinational companies. The population was pretty big. And it was mostly legal people. And it was humming. The multiplier effect, you're right to point it out in that. If you have, as Henry Ford, I don't like Henry Ford, but on manufacturing, as he discerned, first thing you have to do is make sure that whatever products you sell, the workman can buy the product, right? If you want a large business, right? If you want a niche business, okay, you can make platinum jewelry. But, if you're manufacturing to create a large business, you want to make sure that the workman can buy the car, which is what Ford made sure. And then you want to keep all your sourcing, your vendors, in the same place, right? And then the spinning effect. You pay the engine manufacturer for the engine manufacturer pays the workers go out to the local restaurants and shops and they buy stuff. The shop owner has money to pay his workers, her workers, and there's this multiplier effect. When you take and it's amazing that economists haven't really focused on it yet, but you go to the ridiculous Japanese approach just in time, where your supply chain is stretched all the way out to China. You're letting your technology disappear into China and be used against you. That's a ridiculous approach, and that hollowed out America. And Trump is trying to make that change, and I think it is already changing. But cities like New York they're disgusting compared to what they used to be. Another comparison: every time that idiot Eric Adams or that even dumber and dangerous fool Mamdani starts talking about what he's going to do by People just need to chip in by paying 52% of their income to some moron who's never had a real job. Contrast Singapore, which did not exist in 1963. There was no Singapore city at all. Now look at Singapore. I mean, it's a giant. It's thriving. It's a repository for people are flocking to Singapore, fleeing
Charles,
New York and flocking to Singapore.
The Washington Post thinks that Zoran Mamdani is charming, a famously hard-nosed city. Every single thing I hear about him, everybody hates him.
He's a snake charmer. He's a moron. And this is going to be, right now, with Obama, he's being sold, Zoran is being sold the same way Obama was. Look at this toy over here. Isn't it Marley? He can talk. He's well-dressed. It's amazing, And listen to he's got a booming voice. He delivers speeches well. Look at his little kids. Isn't he wonderful? Barack Obama, in his 8 years of his disastrous, treasonous presidency, has done more to destroy America than any human being on earth. And the people behind him, I hope are the focus now of grand juries, including him, for what they did during and after his presidency. And this Iran guy is worse than Obama, but the parallels are similar, right? They're both claim to be from Africa, which is interesting. Uganda and Kenya are actually neighboring countries. They both have, at least Obama claims he's a Christian, Obama, but Mamdani.
Both gay communists. Oh, did I say that?
Did I say that? Anyway, and this one, at least Obama was in his 40s when he became president. Obama never had a managerial job until he was given the most difficult managerial job on earth, right? Now we're going to take this idiot. Nobody's vetted this idiot. Did he lie on his application to become a citizen? Yes or no? Now he's being pictured with some imam who celebrated, encouraged 10,000 people to walk through the streets of New York, allegedly, according to recent reports, and burn the city down. And he's happy to be pictured with this guy. This is not what we do not need. New York City, this is the last thing New York City needs now. And if I were back in my old job, where my last real job, where I ran multiple companies from inside Manhattan, I would have moved my operation maybe outside the United States of America, but certainly outside New York City. And the fact that this guy is going to walk in and seize control of New York City is the death knell for any argument to remain inside the city as a large employer. You are crazy if you stay inside New York right now. And, the people who can move, like me, have already done so. But people who have large businesses remaining in New York City, they are going to flee so fast, it will make your head spin.
I think you're right, Charles. I mean, a lot of people are telling me to move out of New York, including you. I mean, it's, I don't know.
I've been beating that dead horse for how many years? I don't know.
I know. I should. I gotta, look, bunch of things happening, but for right now, we're about to make our way into the First Amendment Forum, so people can join us there. My small business remains here in New York, but it can't remain on the internet without the support and sponsorship of viewers. So if you enjoy this show, if you want it to continue, please become a sponsor. Join us in the First Amendment Forum 5 minutes from now. You can do that by going to crowdsourcethetruth.substack.com or subscribestar.com or patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth. Sponsor the show on any of those. You can also follow me on X at JG_CSTT and subscribe on there. You can watch the full, I think it's 1 hour and 7 minutes of the No Kings, No Brains video from yesterday. It cut out due to the overwhelmed mobile data network, but I've got the full version there for sponsors. Thanks to everybody who's sponsored